Well, hello again, BookTube. I have another tag for you today. This is a tag created by Robert G., the reader of books, and it is called the Reader in a Bad Mood tag. And I was tagged in this by Steve Donahue, or I was at least mentioned, and I'm not entirely sure why he went on an expletive-filled tirade about it. He's Irish Catholic and I'm Irish Protestant, so generally our people don't get along that much. I believe he used the term racial impurity a few times. These Irish Catholics, I'm not sure. You can't live with them, can't wait for them to die. And people like that make me wonder if Oliver Cromwell might have had a point. But this is the prompt for the tag. It's a very fun tag, a very funny tag, and I will try to leave a link to both Steve's video and the original video by Robert G. But this is the prompt for it. Generally speaking, readers are a patient, tolerant, and kindly breed, but anyone can have a bad day. The following prompts are for readers going through something and who find themselves quietly growling among the stacks. So question number 1. If you are invited to a social function, how do you respond? A. You decline the invitation by phone, patiently explain you are spending the evening reading, and then quickly hang up. B. You decline the invitation and make up a personal emergency, which requires you to leave town immediately for an unknown period of time. Or C, you don't respond and instead cover all the windows with blackout curtains and don't answer the doorbell. And for this one, I definitely do not enjoy social functions. I am what is known as an introvert, like a lot of you, I'm sure. But it does work out because I don't get invited to social functions ever, really, so it generally works out. But if on the rare occasions that I do get invited, I just tell them no. Like that sounds no. I don't want to do it. I don't want to go. And usually those people know me pretty well, so that they usually just ask it as a courtesy. They don't actually expect me to show up. So question number 2 is, have you ever tossed a book to the ground in disgust, or thrown a book out the window, or shouted insults at a book? I see what this question is getting at. I definitely have had those experiences with books where it makes me want to go on an expletive-riddled tirade. The one that always comes to mind is Stephen King's The Long Walk. And if you have read that and you have read the ending, you get where I'm coming from. But out of those 3 options, tossed a book, thrown a book out the window, or shouted insults, I've never shouted insults at a book, but what I normally do is I put books like that in a cannon, and then I fire them at the nearest Cybertruck. And a lot of times when I have read books, especially as much as I appreciate Stephen King, a lot of his books, when I was younger, even when I was like 12 or 13, I would read those books and I would just say, oh, for sake, with some of the endings that he has, or just some of the weird dialogue that he has, looking back on those books, they were not very good, but they were a large part of why I became a reader. And it actually makes me think of a scene in Hilary Mantel's novel Wolf Hall, where Thomas Howard, the Duke of Norfolk, he is arguing with Thomas Cromwell about a particular marriage not being able to be annulled, and at one point, Thomas Howard, he explodes and he goes, "Oh, by the thrice beshitten shroud of Lazarus." So that's what I say now whenever I am reading something in a book that makes me roll my eyes. But other than that, I do the thing with the Cybertruck, and that just makes me feel good too. So, question number 3, do you think reading is a legitimate excuse to avoid things you really should be doing, like the dishes, or going for a walk, or extinguishing a house fire? Well, when it comes to extinguishing a house fire, I would rather be reading than doing that because you don't want me extinguishing a house fire. But as far as practical tasks like doing dishes or things like that, it just depends on the situation. Um, I am a grad student, so I generally always have assignments that are going to be due soon, and I'm pretty good at managing my time, and I'm pretty good at bullcrapping with my writing to where I can write it really fast, and the professors seem to like it. And so if the assignment is not due in like 5 minutes, then I will generally like avoid that and I will be reading. But if I'm on like a major deadline, then no, I do not. I don't just decide to read or ignore that deadline because I'm very big on business before pleasure. I've always been that way, sometimes to an extreme. Um, but it just depends on the situation. Spoken like a true counselor there. Question number 4: if someone tells you that they wish they had as much time to read as you do you A, find it insulting but ignore it, B, interpret it as a cry for help, or C, punch them in the nose? Um, and with that, usually when someone tells me that, I do find it a little patronizing because it's usually people who are either they're married or they have kids and they say, "Oh, I wish I had as much time to read as you did," and it's generally sort of like you're patting someone on the head saying, "Oh, you have fun, little boy. Whenever you become a real adult and have responsibilities, then say goodbye to that." That gets on my nerves, and so usually what I do is first when they tell me that, I look upon them with righteous condemnation, and then what I will also do is I will wait until right before they start to leave or right after they tell me that, and then I will stick my thumbs in their eyes and just start squeezing. Uh, that usually causes them to scream, and you know, that that's what it makes me do. So, question number 5: if there is anything you would rather be doing than reading, is it something A, embarrassing, B, illegal, C, profoundly shameful, or D, all of the above? And like the real answer is that when I'm not, something I love to do other than reading is play guitar. I've been playing guitar since I was in elementary school, and but that can be considered embarrassing or profoundly shameful because I'm still really terrible at it. That whole plus that whole adage of playing guitar will make you popular with women. That doesn't work unless you're John Mayer. That's just false. So I definitely don't play it for bragging rights. Um, but other than that, something I would rather do other than reading is the simple things in life like defacing public property or tripping children on the sidewalk or shouting at geese. And I wanted to talk to you about geese, mainly Canadian geese. So, like I said, I'm a grad student and I am on campus every day, and especially with spring and summer rolling around, uh, geese are everywhere. And the Canadian geese on this campus are domestic terrorists. They will charge students for no reason at all. I've been charged by one. I've actually almost had to kick one because he had the rage of Achilles in his eyes. And also they poop on the sidewalk. They don't have they are so inconsiderate that they don't wait until they get in the grass. So now if you walked around on the campus that I'm at, there are just goose turds everywhere, and you have to dodge them like they're landmines. That's what I mean about being domestic terrorists. And it makes me think of back when, sadly, when Donald Trump became president again, he said one of the things that he would return to doing is working on the border wall between the U.S. and Mexico to keep immigrants out. What I would have rather he did was to build a giant net between the U.S. and Canada to keep the frickin' geese out of here. Uh, I I hate these geese, and so one of my chief pleasures in life is to shout at these geese and to charge them. And so, yeah. Question number 6. Do you think. Yes, it's question number 6. Do you think reading makes you charming and witty, or paranoid and socially inept, or do you really care? Uh, I've been socially inept long for long before I took up reading as a hobby. So it definitely doesn't make me witty or charming. I have a very, as you can tell, I have a very black sense of humor, and that is not because of my reading. I come by this naturally, and so as far as charming or witty, no, I don't think it. There's no moral element to reading. There are plenty of people who read and are evil, but there are also plenty of people who never read and are they're great. And so that doesn't really bother me when people find out that I'm a reader. They, you know, I don't think they. I think they do look at me as a reader as being somehow morally superior, but I don't see it that way at all. So I guess I don't really care what it makes me look like when I read. And question number 7 is when you meet someone new, how soon before you inform them that you like to read books? A, immediately, B, after a few drinks, or C, on a need-to-know basis. And I guess that would be on a need-to-know basis. I never just outright tell somebody that I am a reader if the situation does not call for it. I also, in addition to being a grad student, I work over at the library on the campus, and so I talk to college students every day, undergrad, grad school. I talk to faculty and staff. I talk to everybody as part of my job. And generally, like, there's a desk I work at in the library, and so generally when I sit there at the desk, I will have a book just sitting there at the desk, and when I don't have any assignments to work on or I don't have anything to do, then I will be reading. And you'd be surprised how many students or faculty have come up to me and they ask me a question, and then I try to figure out the answer for them, and then they look at my book and they say, "Oh, do you like reading?" And it makes me want to say, no. Like all of these books and this book I have here, I use it for kindling, for making fires. I don't actually read the things. But I've been told that could be considered unprofessional, and so I don't say that. But, I never just go outright and tell somebody that I read. Generally, I actually avoid letting them know that I read. So, does that answer the question? I don't know, maybe it does. And then question number 8 is tag somebody with a sense of humor. And I am still very new to BookTube, so I don't know anybody yet, and the jury is still out on whether or not I'm going to be exiled out of the kingdom. So if you see this and you want to do this tag, then do it. I would hope that everybody has a sense of humor. So yeah, I think that is all. I really like this tag. Despite the war, I was glad that Steve tagged me in it, and so yeah. Guess I will see you next time. Do this tag if you want to, or don't. I don't really care. And yeah, see you later.